Hey Dani, you noticed the new AMG GT-S has just been released?
Yeah, it's my job to know that.
Yeah, right, you're right. Can we get it for development and stuff?
I mean, it's not about getting the car, it's more like getting access to the sensors is really difficult, so that's a no for now.
Okay. Hey Dani, remember the AMG GT-S? When will we finally get it?
As I told you, it's really hard to get access.
Yeah, you told me, but like the 4-liter AMG, we did it in the E63.
Yeah, it's a completely different story, you cannot compare that.
Okay.
Ah, you're leaving for summer holiday.
Yeah.
What's up? Why are you in such a bad mood?
Nothing. I was just wondering when we will get the AMG.
Shut up, man. I don't want to hear the question anymore.
Hey Dani, what's up? What's that on the table?
That might be the connector for the AMG GT-S.
What? Welcome back to our channel, guys. It took us a while, but we're finally able to offer a tuning product for the AMG GT-S.
So what are we going to do today? We're going to measure the car in stock on our dyno, develop the tune for it, and of course measure that as well, and do the 100 to 200 km/h runs on the Autobahn. So I would say let's go.
Finally we got our hands on it. The Mercedes-Benz AMG GT-S. Actually, as some of you might know, we're both kind of BMW M fanboys, which automatically comes with having a complicated relationship to AMG cars. Don't get me wrong, most of them are really good, especially the ones from recent years. But eventually the equivalent M car always did the job just a tiny bit better in our opinion. But you know what? We're still waiting for a proper uncompromising sports car from Munich because BMW doesn't have the balls to build one. On the other hand, AMG did it back in 2014 and brought us new and even faster versions of the GT on a regular basis. No need to mention that the recently announced Black Series model is the craziest yet. But even with just the S model you get a 4-liter Biturbo engine, which is mounted so close to the driver cabin that you basically have to call it a front mid-engine car. One of the longest hoods in the history of cars, which makes you feel like driving around in a Cuban cigar, and the rear-wheel drive chassis, which promises to be evenly agile, as scary, at least if you have the guts to turn off ESC. Reasons enough for us to finally hop into the GT and do a first test drive. Alright guys, welcome to the AMG GT-S. As we all know, the car's been on the market since 2014 and there are like a bazillion reviews on YouTube, so there's not a real sense in me reviewing the stock car here. However, I waited so long to drive this thing that I just wanna take a stock test drive and you basically just have to hang along. So, let's go! As you probably expected, it's not a slow car in stock, not at all. It's the known 4-liter Biturbo engine out of the E63, C63 and so on, but it's just a lighter car. You basically sit on the rear axle, you have a long hood and it's actually a real sports car and you just notice it feels so much more sporty and it's like really blistering fast in stock. However, you notice that the engine has more potential. We know that because we already tuned it in the E63 and so on. So I'm quite curious what Dani will think about the stock car.
You know what? Screw it. I'm not gonna drive that one in stock.
So in my opinion, it's time to head back to our dyno, get a RaceChip tune on the car and see how it performs with a lot more horsepower. So let's go.
Welcome back to our dyno with the AMG GT in the S edition here. Why it took us so long to offer a product or develop a product for it? Yes, the engine base is the same as on the C63, so 4.0 V8. However, the layout is different. Everything what is basically cool, so fresh air and everything, is in the front of the engine. Everything else, which is getting a little bit hotter, like turbochargers, is in the V and at the back of the engine, or engine bay. Therefore, getting access to the sensors on the AMG GT is a lot more difficult than on the C63. So that is why we decided to not offer a product for it, because the installation would take 2.5, 3 hours. And even on that installation, you would not see the sensor, so it would be really, really tricky to install it. So our final solution now is to connect directly to the ECU. As you can see here, we are connecting to both ECU connectors to get the signals we actually need. It is still an Y cable, so we're connecting between the ECU and the ECU plugs. Installation time with that cable takes roughly, I would say, 20 minutes. Don't take that as a final product, it will look a little bit different. So everything will be covered and really, really nice looking. That is basically a prototype which we're using for development now. Of course, therefore, the product will be a little bit more expensive, because as you can imagine, a harness like that is really, really expensive. So the final product for the AMG GT series will be a little bit more expensive compared to other products we offer. So I would say enough of the technical talk, let's measure the car in stock. So we measured the car now in stock conditions. Originally, the car is rated by AMG with 522 horsepower and 660 Nm of torque. We measured the car now with 523 horsepower and 646 Nm of torque. So horsepower is pretty much on point. Torque is a little bit less than claimed, but still in zero tolerances. So I would say let's measure the tuned version. So with the RaceChip GTS Black installed, we're looking now at 575 horsepower and 712 Nm of torque. Gain is all over the RPM range, and also you might notice it, we switch the language to English now, so it maybe helps to understand the diagram a little bit better. As you can see on the top left, as always, green line is drag, so drivetrain loss, blue is wheel horsepower, red is engine horsepower, orange is torque, thick line is tuned, thin line is the stock version. The car came actually with 95 RON, so there would be a little bit more room with 102 octane. And also this is the Europe version, so it meets the latest emission standards. I'm pretty sure for the US model there's a little bit room for more performance. We did a lot of development stages and tests and so on, and that is where we ended at. Had a look at all the temperatures and so on, and that is the result which looked the best, so we decided to keep it as it is. And I would say let's measure the car on the street and measure 100 to 200.
So Dani did his development job, now we're on the road with 575 horsepower. So same story, let's just see how big the difference actually is.
As I do have access to an F-Type R on a regular basis, I think I have a really good comparison to two cars which actually are quite similar. Both are two-seaters. Design is pretty much like, yeah, there are a lot of similarities.
Well, while the stock car on a dry road basically managed to get the power almost to the ground, with tune it's a little bit more difficult. Like, it pulls way harder and you just notice that you are close to 600 horsepower now.
So, at least in my opinion, I'm pretty sure I can compare both cars pretty well, and I have to say the AMG GT-S feels completely different compared to an F-Type. It feels more like not that the F-Type is not a real sports car, but the AMG GT-S feels a little bit more like a real sports car. Handling is more direct. Of course the car is a little bit lighter, which also helps in cornering and so on. Grip is a lot better on the AMG GT-S. Engine is great.
Like, an M4 feels like a Golf against this one. The 4-liter V8 in this package in a sporty car with the RaceChip tune is just completely bonkers.
So I'm really a big fan of the AMG GT-S. Fell totally in love with the car. Handling and everything is really nice and superior. Engine sound, of course, is also really sick.
It's just crazy. It revs better and you just notice that it uses the upper rev range way better than the stock engine, and it's a lot of fun.
So I would say let's compare the sound of the F-Type R to the AMG GT-S and actually, yeah, to check out which sounds better.
So in my opinion, we should make sure to head to the Autobahn now to make the usual stock to tune 100 to 200 comparison and see what times we're able to get. I think this will be one of the top cars on our list, which wouldn't be a big surprise. So let's go! Let's talk about times. 7.74 in stock is pretty impressive on its own and fast enough to smoke mere performance coupes like a C63 or a BMW M4. I mean, that's the reason why you buy a real sports car in the first place. With tune, it pulls off the same run in 6.71 seconds, meaning a second faster, which is a tiny bit quicker than the stock 991 Turbo we've tested. And keeping up or even being faster than a 911 Turbo is hugely impressive. But to be fair, the tuned turbo is still faster. So it's a really quick car from the factory, and as we expected, since we tuned the 4-liter engine from AMG a lot of times in other models, it gets a whole lot quicker with our tune. However, what really stuck with me is not the speed in numbers, but instead the character of the car. While doing 100 to 200 in a 911 Turbo feels like the easiest thing ever, in the GT-S we try to do the runs for 3 days in a row, because with even the slightest amount of moisture on the road, it would just spin its tires from 80 all the way up to 150. Driving it around for our drone shots and drive-bys on a wet forest road, well, you better be careful with the throttle or you'll end up wrapped around one of those beautiful trees a second later. In conclusion, the GT-S is a very capable and quick car which is impressively agile and controllable as long as you don't overextend. But if you do, this car can be one of the fastest ways to win more than $150,000. And that's what makes it so compelling. Because let's be honest, why would you spend that amount of money on a 2-seater sports car with a big V8 and make it even more brutal with a RaceChip tune if it doesn't scare the shit out of you from time to time? And if you just want to survive for a change, don't be ashamed to turn the driving aids back on. As always, thank you guys very much for watching. What do you think of the AMG GT and its different versions? Tell us in the comments and please like the video and subscribe to our channel to support us free of cost. See you in a few weeks.